Welcome to the Hockey Show. My name is Roy Bellamy. David Jork from the Hockey News is right there. Ethan Badowski's in the shipping container, and Rosie is still out doing March Madness stuff.
Ethan's over there doing the gator chomp with the Penn State.
Big day, boys. Big weekend. Big weekend. I'll get to it. I'll explain it all. Don't worry.
Yeah, you don't have to. We don't talk about that here. This is the Hockey Show. We talk hockey. We got Arda Öcal from ESPN on later. If you are watching on DraftKings Network, you can watch that on YouTube by going to the LeBatard YouTube page. That's LeBatard and Friends. Yes. Search out the playlist, and we are on the Hockey Show folder. So you can watch it there, or you can listen on the podcast. So
it's an excellent explanation.
Yeah, thank you.
Well
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. All right, so let's start off with the New York Islanders so I can continue.
Your favorite topic.
Yeah, I need to continue the streak of bashing them for signing racists. All right, so the New York Islanders have lost to the Lightning and effectively was knocked out of playoff contention basically on Wednesday. And during the post-game scrum, Patrick Roy had some ire towards Anthony Duclair. Here's the sound.
Duclair played only a little over 12 minutes.
He was god-awful. He was god-awful. He had a bad game. That's why I didn't play him a lot. And he's lucky to be in the lineup. Sorry if I lose it on him right now, but that's how I feel.
Just what are you seeing that he's not doing?
He's not skating. He's not competing. He's not moving his feet. He's not playing up to what we expect from him.
Do you feel like that's an effort thing?
I think it's an effort thing.
Okay.
Credit to the journalist there for the quick follow-ups, because that's not easy in the moment.
The PR staff for the Islanders actually cut the video portion of that short because that didn't sound too good. I got to say Patrick Roy is probably right about Duclair. 7 goals and 4 assists for 11 points in 44 games. That's not going to get it done. But he did get injured earlier in the season with a groin injury.
Yes. And for a guy whose game is predicated on speed, as we know Anthony Duclair, he's a fast guy. He flies up the wing. That's like what his bread and butter is.
Yeah.
To basically cut one of his legs out from under him with a groin injury, like even when he came back, I'm willing to bet that he wasn't at 100%, just because you know how groin injuries are. They can take a long time for you to heal.
Yeah.
Now, you can play through it, but when your game is based on being able to move your legs at 100% speed, like that would really cut into his ability to perform at the best of his abilities. So it's not terribly surprising. What is surprising is for the coach to call him out so publicly like that.
Yeah, and that's the physical side of it, by the way. The emotional side is even before the season started, Lou Lamoriello, who's the GM of the Islanders, is still going by this archaic rule of keeping your hair short and having facial hair. There's a lot more to the rules on this team that's just ridiculous. Like,
yes.
the Yankees aren't even using.
I was just gonna say, who does Lou Lamoriello think he is? The Yankees dropped their beards rule
Well, that's
this
where he got
offseason.
the idea. He got the idea from Steinbrenner. I think they were like friends or something back in the day, and that's where he got the idea.
It makes sense, but it's just like the Yankees dropped that rule. And I know that it was later than the season started, whatever. But if the Yankees can drop that rule, who are you, the New York Islanders, like seriously?
Well,
seriously.
Lou had that since he was the GM of the Devils. He took that with him to all the other stops that he made. So this has been going on for a good 30 years now, this stupid-ass rule.
You know what? It's 2025, Roy. And I know you're not defending it there.
I'm not.
Obviously, you're not defending it there. It's ridiculous at this point. If the Yankees can drop it, so can the New York Islanders. It's ridiculous, and it just never felt like a fit for Duclair. I mean, they made him cut his hair right away, and he looked so happy in Florida. He looked so happy in Tampa. You know, I saw a picture of him on Twitter the other day where he's just like celebrating. He's got this big smile, and now he's got 11 points in 44 games. Like, it's a bummer.
He's such a nice guy. Like he's a nice, good man. Like he deserves to be happy. Like all my experiences with him when he was here in Florida, since he's left Florida, because he's come back here a lot. He calls South Florida his, home away from home when he's not playing hockey. He's growing the game down here.
Yeah, you built that outdoor rink up north down here.
He's got roots down here.
Yeah.
To see that, like I remember when we were talking about this before the season, when he posted that picture on social media after he had to cut his dreadlocks off, and it was like, what the bleep?
The saddest thing.
Yeah, and trying to put on a smile, and I'm sure that he wanted to, be a good team player and everything, but I just feel for the guy. Like, just let the guy play hockey. Is that such a bad thing? Just let him go do what he's been born to do. Let him go play hockey.
Yeah, and back to the whole coaching situation. Like that was not good. Like now we're throwing players under the bus now. Like this is what Sheldon Keefe did last week, and This is not good. This is not how you get your players to respond
No,
well.
definitely not.
But coaching criticisms are nothing new, right? We've seen coaches throw players under the bus. We've seen them criticize people for years. And if Duclair's not playing up to a standard that the Islanders expect from him, that's something in itself. I understand he's been hurt this year, but we pointed out, look, it's been a tough year for Duclair, and sometimes guys need wake-up calls. This obviously wasn't probably the right way to go around it, and now he's taking a leave of absence, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's played his last game for the New York Islanders.
You do that shit in private. You don't go out into the media and just embarrass your player like this. And this is not 100% on Duclair at all, because this is a mediocre team, this New York Islanders club.
Yeah.
Like the goaltending is in the middle of the league. They have the worst power play in the league.
Yes.
They have great penalty
kill's
killing.
terrible too.
Yeah. They have good penalty.
Oh, they
killing.
good on PK?
Yeah, they're good on PK.
I thought they were terrible on both special teams. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, and the defense is bad. The defense is bad at even strength. So, but they're disciplined. They don't take too many penalties. That's why the penalty killings.
It's because of the lack of facial hair.
Yeah,
they're able to stay out of the box.
Yeah, that's the referees are looking at that. And
Yeah.
Clean players mean
Obviously.
discipline penalty. So, but I really do hate when coaches do that to players, because it's not a good look.
No. And when does it work? Does that work anymore these days?
It doesn't work. And then when the player goes, and if the player does the same thing to the coach, ice time gets reduced. Like straight up, it's a one-way street on that one. I don't like that. And now Duclair has requested time off.
It's
he's
not
done
a
for
good
the season.
situation. And moving forward, because it was all great for Duke in the offseason. I remember we were kind of surprised when the Islanders they signed him to the 4-year deal, $3.5 million AAV. So he's still got $10.5 million on the books for the next 3 years. Is that something that a team is going to be willing to take on? For a guy who, we know what he's capable of, but he's been hurt all year, so he's had a down year. Is anybody going to be willing to take that on in a trade potentially? Is he going to come back next year and play for Patrick Waugh again, assuming Waugh comes back, which I guess some are expecting him to for the Islanders? After this season, I don't know.
I don't,
7 points out of a playoff spot?
I don't know if him or Lou.
Duclair's only 29. That's
he's been hampered by
injuries. It feels like
injuries,
he's been in the league for a long, long time.
But he's been hampered by injuries, and that's pretty much reduced his playing career.
Yeah. No, we know what he's capable of when he's healthy. We've seen it. It's the lower body injuries that hurt, whether it's been an ankle, whether it's been the groin right now. It's tough.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is he has value. You ask, would a team trade for him? Any team would want his speed, his playing style, and when he can put the puck in the net. He played for 2 Stanley Cup contenders the last 2 years before going to the Islanders. He's a valuable player that people would want. The Lightning gave up stuff for him at the deadline last year. He is a valuable player, and I'm sure there would be a market for him if the Islanders put him out there.
No, it automatically changes your transition offense when he's on your club, when he's fully healthy, and that he's just going to have to heal. And that's what we're looking at on the island, and just ridiculous.
Makes me think of Vincent Trocheck back when he finished his time with the Panthers. He went out to Carolina and then the Rangers. His last year or so with the Panthers, he had suffered 2 different ankle injuries.
Yeah.
Speed was such a big part of his game that it took him a while to get back to where he's. But now, Vincent Trocheck is the great 2-way center that we always knew he would be. It just guys have to heal when their game is based on lower body strength. They got to go through it.
And I remember the last day I saw Vincent Trocheck in a Panthers uniform. We were in the locker room, and I saw him, and he was about as depressed as I've ever seen an actual athlete live. It looked like he was told that he was being traded. Oof. And that's eventually what happened. He was traded. Yeah. Yeah, so, that's one of those situations where you got to go man, I'm sorry, dude. So,
he's doing okay now. I think he's pretty happy in New York.
Well,
I'm saying in terms of the Rangers are not having a great year, but I think his career-wise, I think he's doing okay.
Oh, absolutely. Let's get into our wins and fails presented by Jägermeister. Serve it cold or don't serve it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. For more, visit Jägermeister.com. Drink responsibly. David, your win of the week.
My win of the week, it's in St. Louis. The middle of the country, one of the best teams in the NHL lately. What have they won? 11 straight games now? Mm-hmm. It all drives back to something I know we love. Ethan, I think you love it. You're a baseball guy. It's Jobu. Jobu.
I'm looking at him, and he has a blank face, blank stare on his face.
I know the. I don't think I've ever seen. I saw the movie when I was a kid. Oh. I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
Now you have some homework.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch. Watch Major League. Don't watch Major League 2. Don't watch Major League back in the minors. No. Just watch Major League.
Major League 2 is great.
No, it wasn't.
In terms
it's
of
the same goddamn movie.
One-liners, some great one-liners, some great comedy. Story-wise, it's very whatever. It's a sports movie. But no, Major League 2 is worth a watch. But anyway, back to my win of the week.
I disagree.
Okay, well, this is what next time Adnan's on, we need to get him talking about this.
Okay, yeah. That'll probably be 2 weeks from now.
After Four Nations, the Blues were out of the playoffs. They were 25, 26, and 5. 8 points out of a wild card spot at Four Nations. 8 points back. That was, a month ago? Mm-hmm. Since they've played, 21 games, and they have points in 19 of them. 17, 2-2. 11 games in a row. It's all Jobu. Nobody is drinking Jobu's rum, which I think is the key. It'll be very bad if you drink Jobu's rum.
Yeah.
But, man, how cool is this? He travels with the team. He gets his own locker. Like guys have said, they'll get, the crappier locker because Jobu gets veteran presence in the locker room or something. He's made speeches in the locker room. A couple of players have said that Jobu has made intermission speeches that they won't reveal what he says. And Jordan Binnington says he does talk. You have to speak his language. And also, Jordan Binnington, Ethan, we talked about him at Four Nations.
Yeah.
Has anybody carried their Four Nations
weight? Are they
weight?
just going to do the same thing that they're going to do that they did in 2019? They've won 11 in a row now. They are red, smoking hot.
Maybe.
And
Play
they
Gloria.
have moved into the first wild card spot in the West. They're 91 points. Minnesota's on 89, and then the rest of the pack is behind them. It's starting at 84 with Calgary.
Dude.
They are on fire. Nice job, Jim Montgomery.
All right. I can't believe you just said that.
I can't believe I just said that, but maybe all he had to do was get out of the stink of Boston, and then he became a good coach again all of a sudden.
He did okay in Boston, too.
Yeah.
We will talk about the Bruins later. The Wild went to, this is my win of the week, the Wild went to Madison Square Garden to play the Rangers on Wednesday, and during pregame skate, Matt Zuccarello, who was a Ranger, wore a nice little jersey that had the number 40 and the last name of Rosen on the back. And that was a nod to Sam Rosen, the Rangers play-by-play analyst for MSG, who is retiring at the end of the season. Matt Zuccarello, as I said, was a former Ranger. So that is a nice gesture for Sam Rosen, who is going to, if he's not already, I'm sure he's probably going to end up being in the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto.
Oh, such a legend. I met him when I first started covering the Panthers. I met him during a Ranger game in the press box. I wanted to take a picture. I was so starstruck. You're used to seeing those amazing broadcasters up there, but something about Sam Rosen. I mean, he's just it's a power play goal.
Yeah. Keith Olbermann always makes fun of him for some reason, but he's a Rangers fan himself. So, I guess that's all in fun. Ethan.
My win of the week goes to the Penn State Nittany Lions. They are headed to their first Frozen Four in school history. They took down UConn in a classic game, and it was an amazing call on ESPN on the game winner, and I want to play it for you guys.
Oh, Chris Serrano moves in, swung it back to Marsico, fires, scores! It's over! Penn State to the Frozen Four for the first time ever! Oh my goodness!
Chelsea Dagger?
Oh, is this in Chicago? No, that wasn't in Chicago.
No, that's not Chicago. That was one minor league-ass goal horn, by the way.
An instant classic! And it's the Penn State Nittany Lions
Allentown Regional Final. Okay, so that's
that are on the hunt
Pennsylvania.
for the Frozen
that's not Penn State's
Four.
home.
My word! Here in the Keystone State, their home state, they get it done in the first time in their program's history. And it looks as though Cinderella's glass slipper is going to fit their paw.
So
there's a paw. There's a paw.
My cousin went to Penn State, so I love my Penn State Nittany Lions.
Oh, there it
and
is.
that call was incredible.
Biased.
I'm really excited for the Frozen Four coming up next week. And obviously, I've got my squad, and the Gators are in the Final Four as well, so it's a good time to be a Badowski.
All right, fails of the week, David.
From the same game, actually, my fail of the week is from when Penn State defenseman Nick Faja lit up UConn forward Tristan Frazier. He tried pulling the Michigan in overtime. Here it is right here. And boom!
Ooh.
Leveled him.
Wow.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful hit.
You guys switch flipped.
The Michigan has been going on for 30 years. Could we get a new Michigan? Because I feel like that's the move that everybody celebrates, but it's been 3 decades. It's being defended by goal. The goalie was ready. It wasn't going in even if he didn't get leveled, but man. New Michigan.
Trevor Zegras flip over the net.
Yes.
The
Zegras flip. Make that the new Michigan. That'd be cool.
My win of the week, we go back to Tuesday for Capitals and Bruins. This is for Alexander Ovechkin's 890th goal of his career, and I can tell you this is not how you defend. anybody. Not a rookie forward, not Alexander Ovechkin, and nobody in the middle. He was left wide open with nobody around him 5 feet away from the net. If you look at the still image, which is going to come up soon, there was zero reason why Alexander Ovechkin should have been that wide open next to your net. Look at this. Look at that. That's
a high percentage look. What's the XG on this, boys? 0.98, 0.99?
Nah, man. That's 99.
That's a
right
1.0 right there.
Ethan, your fail.
All right, my fail of the week comes from the New York Rangers and Minnesota Wild game that Roy talked about earlier. Alexis Lafreniere, former number 1 pick, signed a extension in the offseason worth $7.45 million. He's only got like 45 points this year, and this is not a great look. Yeah. Gabe Perreault, their new signing from Boston College, just came in. Laffy clearly didn't watch a lot of Boston College hockey this year because he was not expecting that beautiful pass, even though Perreault has had a great year.
That pass was deflected.
He also fell on his ass like an idiot. So not the greatest moment for your $7.45 million player who only has like 45 points this year.
So we got Arda Öcal from ESPN to come on to talk about what's happened this week. Yes. If you are watching on DKN, you can watch that on YouTube, and you can listen to it on the podcast. That is coming up next. Arda Öcal joins us from ESPN, and I just got to tell you, if you've listened to me, if you watched me for the past 19 years, you've known my dislike for Sidney Crosby. All right?
It's a great place to start. Welcome to the show. I hate Sidney Crosby.
I hate Sidney Crosby. I don't like the Penguins, and I don't like Sidney Crosby. Yeah. And people look at me like I'm a fool because it's Sidney Crosby. He's quote unquote finger waving over here, one of the greatest players of all time. You can kiss my ass. How about that? All right. So there have been entirely too much celebration for obscure, meaningless, pointless career stats all season for this guy. And I'm just gonna I'm stuttering here. I'm just gonna give you examples of what happened here. Thank you, Ethan, for these. Sidney Crosby's assist last night, this was last night's game, extended his point streak to 11 games, marking the longest point streak by a player aged 37 or older since Nicholas Lidstrom in Detroit in 2010-2011. What are we doing now? What's the point of that stat? On March 18th, Sidney Crosby surpassed Wayne Gretzky for the fourth most points for a single franchise in NHL history for 1670. That was back on March 18th.
Fourth most we're celebrating.
Yeah, fourth most. On March 11th, Sidney Crosby registered his 105th multi-goal game, which is ranked second among active players behind Alexander Ovechkin. Arda, what the fuck are we doing?
Oh my God.
What you're doing is making the case for Sidney Crosby to be the greatest player of all time.
I don't know. You're just reading off amazing stats about Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, that's all I heard.
You have quote-unquote one of the great players of all time. He's top 5 in everything.
The fourth most points for a single franchise in NHL history. What are we doing? There are 32 teams in this league. What are we doing here? Why?
To be fair, throughout the Great Chase, there's also been the super obscure Alex Ovechkin. Like, hey, did you know that Alex Ovechkin has scored on the most goaltenders in NHL history?
I like that stat. That is a good stat. That is a good stat.
You like that stat because it's about Ovechkin.
Sorry, Roy, my bad,
if
Roy,
Crosby had scored on 182 goalies, he'd be like, "Oh, this sucks."
I hate that stat. I would hate that stat if it was Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby has won a faceoff against 757 different NHL players.
Compiler. All right, let's get.
He's Omar Vizquel.
He hasn't committed a single error in 15 years. This Sidney Crosby. I'm tired of it.
All right, we're wasting Arda's time. Can we ask him some real questions?
No, I'm loving that we're just pulling out stats out of everywhere and trying to diminish Sidney Crosby's impact on hockey.
It's my job.
Roy, where do you put Sid? Top what? 100, 200, 500,
You're not going to like this answer.
Just about,
come on.
Yeah, yes. I mean, come on. We got Gordie Howe.
The obscurity statistics aside, he's
Paul the Rocket Richard.
Maurice Richard.
Ned Gretzky. Like, what are we doing here?
Ned Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky's brother.
Yeah.
E2 Luosterainen.
Jaromir Jagr and everybody. Yeah. Yes. Everybody excelled. Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
All right.
I feel All right. I've got a non-Crosby question for you, Arda. And
Thank God.
It's not necessarily a positive one, though, because it's about the Boston Bruins. They've lost, 10 in a row right now?
Yeah. The loss to the Canadiens did that one. Yeah.
This is going to be the first year that they finished last in the division since, the 90s. We're 2 years away from this being, the best regular season team of all time? Is this something that, we kind of saw coming, Arda, or is this Boston thing, where did it come from? I'm kind of shocked because we've gotten so used to Boston being so good for so long.
Yeah, they've been competitive for well over a decade. But I think the signs were there just because of the veteran players and the end of an era feeling. Obviously, with Bergeron retiring, you still have David Pastrnak, but Brad Marchand being traded. You're seeing the changing of the guard one by one. It felt like it was an eventual kind of situation to where we are right now. I don't know if it's going to last as long as people might think. I don't know if they're going to be bottom dwellers for 7 or 8 years. I think the turnaround can be pretty quick. I don't think Jeremy Swayman had his best year. That happens sometimes with athletes when they sign a big deal. The first year of that contract maybe sometimes isn't as great as the contract year. But I don't think the Bruins are full despondence and despair for a long time. Maybe they benefit from this tank and get a very high top 5 pick in the draft, and that pans out for them. And a couple of moves later, they're competitive again. So I'm bullish on them not having a long-term era of futility.
Ethan, you know what I'm going to say here.
I know exactly what you're going to say here, Roy.
The Panthers murdered them. The Panthers ended that era.
They retired Patrice Bergeron.
Yes, they did.
They killed them last year. They basically got their coach fired this year, and then they traded for Brad Marchand, which really put them in the shit.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
the moment,
can we confirm?
The moment was when Marchand started picking up rats from the ice after that overtime winner that he set up Sam Bennett. That was just the cosmic, the body was put into the coffin in that moment. Right there, exactly. That is the last page of the chapter right there.
Yeah, that's when the casket went down and they started putting dirt in the grave. That was game over for the Bruins in this era. So let's play the video of the fight between Connor McMichael and Jalen Chatfield. This is an MMA move, basically. This looked like something out of WWE, actually, because look at this. He's going to spin him around and he looked like he ended up rock bottom, giving him a rock bottom on that
The
one.
look on McMichael's face after he was as surprised as the rest of us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen plenty of takedowns in these fights, but we haven't seen a takedown like that, and that looked pretty dangerous. That's the type of takedown that you end up hitting your head on the ice. But he's not going to get any supplemental discipline. Did he deserve any type of fine or suspension for that move?
I believe he didn't receive supplemental discipline because there was no injury on the play.
Yeah, okay.
The deliberate leg sweep that you saw there, and yes, you see it in the UFC all the time, that kind of leg sweep. It's like a judo throw, really is what it is. That has no place in hockey. I think everyone can agree with that. I enjoy fights. I think they're highly entertaining. They have their place. Anyone that says that the 3 fights in 9 seconds, Canada, USA, 4 nations, didn't turbo boost hockey interest in that moment is lying to themselves. With that said, there are considerations that should be made by willing participants in a fight where you try to protect your opponent's head as you are going down to the ice. Either you have the seatbelt method where you're holding them tight and making sure that both of you are able to land on the ice safely. You do not, in my opinion, that what we saw there should never, ever, ever happen in a hockey fight, let alone in hockey period, especially when someone doesn't have a helmet on their head, because that's just absolutely dangerous. And so I feel like maybe we should have a rule change. There should be some sort of deliberate and black and white. If you do this in a fight, you're getting suspended. There's going to be discipline.
Now, this was a tough look for the NHL because I think it was either the same day or the day after Nico Mikkola got fined $5,000 for doing a slap shot down the ice at the end of the Montreal Canadiens game, and then nothing happens to Chatfield here. Now, I remember last postseason when Trouba threw that hit. I can't remember who it was on in the Carolina series. There was a lot of talk about intent, right?
Oh, he left his
deliberate,
feet on that one.
and he left his feet like. Shouldn't there be? I think it was Marty Natchez. Maybe shouldn't there be a stipulation where it looks like there's intent to injure? Because even though he doesn't get injured here and he escaped without being concussed or God forbid something worse, like shouldn't there be some kind of discipline where it says if there seems to be deliberate intent, like that's not in the rule book? Isn't there something there for that?
Sure, absolutely. I agree 100%. Obviously, if you look back at suspensions and fines that have been issued in the past, most all have some sort of weight attached to them based on the injured opponent, right? And how injured the opponent is. Attempted is often not like, I don't want to say dismissed, but like if for example, if I'm skating towards a player and I have my elbow out and I miss the player, that's not going to get a suspension, right? Unless contact is made. But if I had the intent, it's clearly established that I'm skating like this towards a player and I'm headhunting, but I miss the head. Like unless contact is made, and unless and then further to that, if there's an injury on the play, that's when we typically hear of suspensions, fines, etc. being levied. So in that Chatfield example, it's very clear that could have gone south a lot worse than what happened. Connor McMichael got right back up. Mm-hmm. Luckily, his head didn't smack on the ice. Yeah. So, but like in that specific case, though, that's not a hockey play whatsoever. Not saying an elbow is. I'm saying in that moment, that particular leg sweep, unnecessary, not needed, should be an automatic suspension of some kind.
You got to hold him accountable so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. The director of the Department of Player Safety is noted pugilist George Peros. So how much of this is on him? Because it seems like a lot of these suspensions and fines are substantially subjective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have checks and balances in place. Like we get a presentation from the Department of Player Safety every year, and they are available for conversation. We receive emails on like explanations, etc. So I'm not necessarily saying that. I think overall they do a good job. I think it's difficult. Like I think everything is case by case. I think that they have a very, very important task to accomplish. I do think that in certain instances, like this is a different case because we don't often see leg sweeps in fights, right? Like This is really the first time that this has come across to this spotlight to this degree. So is it as simple as the Department of Player Safety looks at it in the offseason and says, all right, we're just going to eliminate this completely and this is going to be the fine or the suspension if it's ever seen again? That could be the case. But yeah, to your point, like there are certainly a lot of plays that people are going to compare, especially when it's their team and this happened, that happened, and what factors went into it, etc. Every single play has different factors going into it. So,
Arda, we're about 2 weeks away from the playoffs, and I've been following. I guess we all have been following the playoff chases, the standings very closely. My question for you: there's a team that's been pretty hot in the Eastern wildcard race for a while now, and that's the Ottawa Senators. They're leveled out a little bit, but they're a team that's been playing very well. And then you've got the Blues out west that are just on fire right now. And I think back to a couple of years ago when the Panthers, as a wild card 2 team, beat that Boston Bruins team, went all the way to the final. Is there a wild card team that you're more afraid to play? I would think the Blues right now because of how good they are, but Ottawa's been playing well. The Montreal Canadiens have won 3 in a row. Wild card teams are very fluky when it comes to this time of year. So are there any that you're really looking at as like a playoff team that could make some damage?
The Blues have won 11 in a row. The last time they won 11 in a row was 2018-2019. That turned out pretty well for them.
Yeah.
Well, they played Gloria, so yeah.
Yeah, they played Gloria. They were raising Stanley Cups. Jobu apparently is doing very well for them at the moment. But
love Jobu.
the Senators are in firm position. It's good to see the Tkachuk brothers in the postseason. It'll be fun to watch Brady and his progress. That team looks good. The Canadians are the thing I like about the Canadians. First of all, I do want to say the Canadians have the easiest schedule for the rest of the season. Like their remaining games are the easiest as compared to every team that is chasing them in the Eastern Conference wildcard. So they have that benefit going for them. They're a minus 22 and they're in wildcard 2. Like that's very rare that we would see that a team that has been scored on a lot more than they have scored in a playoff position. But
didn't Washington get in like that? Sorry to cut you off. Didn't Washington get in with the same thing last year?
Yes. Absolutely, and now they're a plus 67. Like, what a difference a year makes, right? Like, isn't that ridiculous? It's absolutely wild. But my point with the Canadians is I almost compare this. It's a full 180, the Canadians and the Rangers. The Canadians look like they're fighting hard and they're battling to the bitter end in every single game. It's like that Martin St. Louis mentality of gritty and passionate hockey. Whereas there's been some games, more than not, lately as well, where the Rangers have just looked listless in the third period where they're down a goal and they need to push and the net is empty and they're just not getting any opportunities. Whether it's not clicking, whether it's an effort thing, it just looks so different when you watch the Habs in that situation and the Rangers in that situation, which is surprising because the Rangers are still fighting for that spot. So I would say the Habs are a team to watch. The Blues, if they continue the hot streak, we know this, boys. It's about getting hot at the right time. If you're feeling it and if you're hot going into the postseason, you're going to be unbeatable. Just ask the Panthers, like you mentioned a couple years ago, and obviously last year, but also teams like the LA Kings in 2012, right, where they limped into the playoffs and then they went up 3-0 in every single series.
Finally, two teams, as you said, have not been hot at the right time. That's the Devils and the Islanders, especially the Islanders because of whatever. So Sheldon Keefe and Patrick Roy have both thrown their players under the bus. In this latest instance, Patrick Roy ended up doing that to Anthony Duclair, and Anthony Duclair is now done for the season as he takes some time off to reflect. So what is your opinion on coaches nowadays throwing their players under the bus and embarrassing them in the media?
I like when coaches speak on their players. I like the passion. In Sheldon Keefe's case, I think he mentioned that he just saw like one particular play of Kovacevic that was not good. I think it was in the second period. He just saw that clip. It was fresh in his head. He went to the podium. He got asked about him. And then, that passion and that opinion just came out. They had a conversation afterwards, apparently, very similar to Patrick Roy and Anthony Duclair. And then whatever the fallout is in Duclair's case, like you said, taking time away from the team. I like the passion. If nothing else, it gives us media types something to talk about as a talking point. But also, I'm under the paradigm that I want this from players and I want this from coaches. I want real comments and thoughts and opinions. I don't subscribe to the, scrubbed answers of the 200-foot game and pucks in deep and blah, blah, blah. Like, I like this. So when it happens, I want to honor it and obviously discuss it, but I want all the players and the coaches to feel encouraged to have this level of honesty because to me, it's better for the game. And, a lot of people will disagree. I think that they're going to say, no, this should happen behind closed doors and they shouldn't have these conversations in public and don't air your dirty laundry, etc. It's sports. Multi-million dollars are on the line. This is of great public interest. So, of course, I'm going to be on the side of I want to hear this more and I want to hear this passion.
It feels like we're always asking for more personality from NHL coaches and players, and then when they give them more personality, we're like, not like that.
Yeah, like we got to stop that. You're right. You're absolutely right. We got to stop that. Either support it or completely ignore it.
Yeah, but is this actually going to help the player in this situation? Because if the player did the same thing and said this stuff about the coach, then the ice time will get reduced or they'll try to railroad them out of town.
Or if the relationship is beyond repair, like we don't know, right? Like we're not in the locker room every single day. If the relationship is bad and this needed to happen for a separation to occur or to jumpstart, looking for a new home or whatever, or maybe they just needed to have this conversation And maybe what will happen is Duclair takes time off and comes back to the team and has a new lease on life and is refreshed and has a career resurgence under Patrick Waugh. Like, multiple outcomes can happen. But if the outcome is Duclair and the Islanders was not a good fit, and they need to look at where else Duclair can be in the offseason, and this was the moment that needed to happen in order for that to get into the minds of, Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders, etc., then either way, it's a net positive, because then the team and the player are better off if the relationship is toxic or it's not working out.
Man, they made that man cut his hair earlier in the season, and they signed Tony DeAngelo. I'm sorry, they're in the shit house right now, the Islanders. So that's just me. That's my humble, very, very much humble opinion. Arda Öcal from ESPN. Where can we find you? We got podcasts over here with Greg Brzezinski, and we got the point and everything. So where can we find you? Where can we watch and listen to you?
Just find me on social media, NHL on ESPN broadcasts. Roy, actually, I'm going to take this time to announce that I'm starting a new podcast called the Sidney Crosby is the greatest NHL player of all time pod.
Wow, that's a long title.
Launching with Metal Arc. I was talking with Dan. Yeah, I was talking with Dan. It's going to launch with Metal Arc. It's going to start next week.
Oh, a rival podcast.
Roy, you're going to be the first guest. You're going to be the first guest, Roy.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
Crosby jersey's in the mail, buddy.
Crosby jersey's coming.
I'm washing my hands of this interview. I am done. Bye, Arda.
Thanks so much, Arda.
See you guys.
Arda, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, we have to recap what happened to the Panthers this week, and I really don't feel like doing it, but I got to, because Brad Marchand made his debut on Friday when Utah came to town, and this has not been good. This has not been a good week for the Panthers, but Brad Marchand looked great. Like, he looked fast. He made a big impact very quickly. He looked fresh, and he got the game-winning assist on Sam Bennett's overtime winner.
He did.
He just looks good in a Panther uniform. Like, everybody was talking about how weird it looked, and sure, maybe it looked weird, but it was exciting to see him out there with the boys. You got him, he's fitting right in. Really, it's been amazing how quickly he's fit right into this team. And if he starts performing well, especially come playoff time, would you guys be surprised at all if the Panthers decide this is a guy we want to keep around going forward? Like,
well, that's a decision up to that's up to Marchand, right?
I'm fairly confident that's going to happen, unless some kind of disastrous thing happens between now and whenever Florida's season ends. I have good reason to believe that when he was traded here, there was an idea of him staying.
He forced his way here for a reason. This is where he wanted to be. This is the club that he thought he would be best with. And I mean, look at him and Barkey chumming it up right here. This was a great quote from Barkey, by the way, where he said that he heard something that he was so used to being on the other side of. Like, there was some chirp that Marchand threw out there at a Utah player, and Barkey laughed because he's like, I've heard that one before, and now it's just nice to have him on our side. So he's fitting right in with the guys, and it seems like it's been a perfect marriage so far, to be honest. It just little better results, 1 point in 4 games, but this point was an important one. I mean, they needed this win against Utah, as they need every win down the stretch here. And, he gets an assist on the overtime winner from Sam Bennett.
Yeah, Sam Bennett had sponsored 2 pets for adoption. He had 2 goals, and those pets getting adopted through Benny's Buddies and the Humane Society of Broward. Good job by Benny, as career high in points now.
Career high in points, career high in assists. I think he's 3 off a career high in goals, and that was while missing time this year with that giant chunk where he didn't score earlier in the season. So setting himself up for what should be a pretty nice payday for him. Hopefully one that he is able to stay in Florida, because we know how important of a player he is to the Panthers lineup. But he's going to get paid this summer.
Yeah, and the Panthers were dominant in that game. Don't let the score fool you. Don't let the fact that they went to overtime fool you.
The Panthers have been dominant recently.
Dominant.
Yeah, kind of the opposite of what's happened over the past week, right?
It's been interesting because you said don't let the score fool you in that Utah game. Don't let the score fool you in the Montreal game, in the Toronto game, because the Panthers have been really good in these games. They just haven't been getting the results. It's been really weird, especially Montreal. You're up 9, with 9 seconds left. And when do the Panthers ever blow that situation? They had the puck pinned up against the boards at one point. Montreal fished it out of there. And Lane Hudson, what a player this Lane Hudson is. I mean, he makes a great play at the end of the game there, where he has the wherewithal to just. That was the second game. I forgot that it came back to me that there was a back-to-back home and home with Montreal. Yeah. Montreal has the Panthers number this year. Clearly, they beat them 4 times. Like, you got people are worried about facing Toronto or Tampa in the first round. I'd be worried about facing Montreal later in the playoffs, considering they beat them 4 out of 4.
Let's see Montreal get later in the playoffs.
Of course. But I'm just saying,
very different games, each one too. It's been a weird series against Montreal.
The weirdest one was this one where the Panthers, they have the lead with 9 seconds left, and like I said, Hudson makes a great play, just kind of throwing it towards the net, takes a weird bounce through Reinhart, who, he struggled at the end of the game.
I don't understand the play that he made in that situation. Why you got nobody around you, and Reinhart ended up trying to block the shot. Now, keep in mind that was a good play by Seth Jones at the blue line.
Great play. He almost got it out of there, but Hudson keeps it in. And, Rhino, okay, he's trying to block the shot. He's just trying to keep it in front of him, and he almost does. It just kind of takes a weird hop through him and finds its way to Suzuki. But then Rhino gets beat for the OT winner, and that was a tough game for him.
As a goalie, I will say, a lot of guys were getting on Reinhart, just get out of the way, let the goalie have the shot. No, I get where he's coming from. Guys are blocking shots, and look at what has happened to the Panthers in the 3 games this week. They've had a shit ton of shots blocked against them. So, blocking shots is fine. Rhino wants to get that out of the goalie. It just
there's nobody around him.
The flukiness of the way it just happened to hit him in the perfect spot, so it bounced directly to the guy on the other side of the crease when everybody else was moving the other way. It was a perfect comedy of errors that just, crapped on the Panthers.
Yeah, not good. The Panthers are now 0-3-1 against the Canadiens as they got the point on Tuesday. So we move on to Toronto. Now one was the biggest game of the season up until the next biggest game of the season when they play them again. That was not good. Now, they had 5 players out. Tkachuk, Kulikov, and Ekblad, obviously. Alexander Barkov got hurt in the Montreal game with a lower body injury. He came back in that game, but they,
Hold
back-to-back.
Yeah.
So obviously,
and it looks like he's not going to play this weekend either. Pierre LeBrun reported that he's probably out for this back-to-back in Ottawa and Detroit Saturday and Sunday.
No point in forcing him back. Right now, they haven't clinched yet, but the Panthers are going to be in the playoffs. That the goal is another playoff run. So they're not so worried about right now. Get everybody healthy. Make sure that you're as good as you possibly can be in the playoffs. Because you already have question marks between Ekblad and Tkachuk.
Nico Sturm
is hurt too,
yeah. So that happened. So 5 players out. You got to call up some players, obviously. But the third period did not go well for the Panthers at all. For whatever reason, they have been giving them stretch passes, leading to breakaways for the past month and a half.
Well, this was this one in particular was just a bad play by Nate Schmidt. He steps up to try and cut the pass. I think it was Nyes who got in behind, and the pass goes right through him, and now it's Nyes ahead of Mikkola. I don't understand why Schmidt isn't. It was a sick pass by Marner. Marner had a great game. He gets the go-ahead goal to make it 2-1, and then he makes a sick pass to make it 3-1. But Schmidt there, he just needs to, he doesn't need to step up into that lane to try and cut the pass. He just needs to stay behind Nyes, make sure Nyes stays behind him. Schmidt's, he's out of his depths right now. He's playing on the second line, and he's a third-line guy, let's be honest, right? They're missing 2 of their top 4, so obviously when those guys are back in, you would expect that Schmidt's not going to be in the top 4. But it's not going to be until the 3rd game of the playoffs that these guys are going to be back. So he's going to have to stay afloat right now. And the Panthers are having a tough time staying afloat because, they get back into that game. Rhino has a 6 shot to make it 3-2, with under a minute left. But still, too many defensive leaks, guys. Marner's wide open. That's not what you expect from the Panthers on the second one. The stretch pass in behind, they're giving up too many of these rush chances, and that's not the Panthers' game.
Yeah, Nate Smith is definitely a third pair defenseman. And, the defensemen have not had good positioning in the neutral zone for these things to be happening. So they're not good. Now, they move on to Saturday. By the way, the Maple Leafs clinched on that game. They are officially going to the playoffs. The Panthers have a chance to clinch by themselves with a win in Ottawa on Saturday, and it's the first half of a back-to-back. I'm tired of this, man. This is the second back-to-back left, the 2 back-to-backs left in this season. So got to get through it. So they beat Tampa? They beat Tampa, right?
They've beaten Tampa.
Yeah, they beat Tampa.
Yeah, they beat Tampa in their last meeting. Yeah, it was that game where there was that crazy finish at the end.
Yeah, so there's that. They got a good amount lead for the first wild card spot, so I don't think they have to worry about
2-1 against Tampa so far.
Yeah, and now the series is split against Florida for the season. The Senators won 3-1 in October, and the Panthers won 5-1 in February.
That would have been a fun playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, may still happen.
It can still happen. Like, there's 7 games left. The Panthers are 4 points down. All it takes is the Leafs dropping 2 and the Panthers winning 2, and you're tied on points. So this can absolutely happen. This same exact thing happened where the Panthers were kind of limping. They were resting some guys because they remembered what happened to them the year before. Look, it's not the team right now. They're missing Barkov, their best player. They're missing Tkachuk, their second best player. They're missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen, and they're missing their 4th line center. It's just they're having to stay afloat. The injury bug has bitten them in a bad way at the end of the year.
And then Sunday they go to Detroit, who is still in the race. They're still in the race for the second wild card, so they got something to play for. They'll be coming off their game versus Carolina. They play tonight. And the Red Wings won 5-2 against Florida back in January. That was their only meeting. So they got a couple of games left against Florida. The Red Wings have gone 4-5-1 since losing 6 in a row. So there's that. I wouldn't say a bit of a bounce back. I mean, they lost 6 in a row. So again, four wins out of the last 10.
That's not how you make the playoffs.
That's not how you make the playoffs.
Nope.
So that's what the Panthers are looking at this upcoming weekend. Not a good week for them. Hoping to bounce back before they head home after Sunday. So, for David Dwork, for Ethan Podolsky, for Jason, and whoever it is back there as well.
Arda. Don't forget Arda.
For Arda Öcal, for Gino, and I don't know who that was. I think that was Dan GQ. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.